What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 198 of Expert Mentors Live. You guys are in for a treat today. We've got the one and only Mr. Gary Wilson in the house with us. And, Gary's just a tremendous wealth of knowledge, experience, perspectives, insights. And so buckle up. You guys are in for a treat. Gary, welcome.
Thanks, John. I appreciate the introduction. I'm just glad to be here, man.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you. And, for the those in the Honey Badger Nation that haven't had the opportunity to connect or get to know you a little bit, give us the Cliff Note, a little background about yourself.
Sure. Well, when I was a kid, I would draw houses for fun. I didn't know how to do the floor plans. I would literally, like, my ideal house was a split level, like tri-level, and I would draw it with rulers and pencils, so it was perfect. And I knew the rooms on the inside. Well, my granddad, turns out, taught architecture. He was a university professor, 100 years ago or something. So he showed me all the symbols, the terminology, the methodology. And then for Christmas that year, my mom bought me a big drawing board with the T-square and everything. And I'm literally designing floor plans, to scale at like 8 years old. So fast forward, I go to college. My freshman year roommate, his name is Socrates. He and I are still good friends today. He lives in Florida. He's on the East Coast. I'm on the Gulf Coast. And it turns out his dad was a big investor in Virginia. And when we graduated, we were just going to go rent a place down on the beach and live the good life. And his dad's said, no, don't be idiots. He said, you're going to buy a house and you're going to rent it out. You're going to make some money. This is not like a drill. You're going to actually start making money now. And first house we got, typical bachelor's with oceanfront condo. And he's like, what's the matter with you? I said, didn't you listen to me? He said, you're going to buy something you're going to make money on. We thought that's what we're doing. He ended up helping us get a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom ranch. I mean, not help us. He didn't give us any money. He didn't give us the fish. He taught us how to fish. And we rented out the other 2 rooms to two other guys, and their combined rent paid our mortgages. This was January of 86. I mean, John, interest rates were still high. We assumed the guy's first mortgage. It was a VA mortgage. We refinanced a second, and Sock's dad did have to sign for that. And then we gave him a third note for the remaining equity. So 3 mortgages on this, but essentially lived for almost free. And then I remember at the closing table, his dad pounding his chest, saying, if you boys do what I tell you to, you won't have to work for anyone else when you're 35 years old. So we didn't listen. We bought a boat, and towed the boat, and I ended up getting married 2 years later and moved to Pittsburgh. I was 35 when it finally occurred to me, I wish I'd have listened to him, because I did not like the corporate world. I was not born to be sitting on a desk in an office. And that's when I started investing. And that's what led to me getting my license, Realtors license, and starting a brokerage that focused on investors. That was our thing. That's what we were known for.
Right.
And so when the recession hit, man, our business grew 6-fold because we had those critical relationships, and a lot of agents were just leaving in droves, and we were growing like crazy. And that was really what put me on the map. That was my proverbial 15 minutes of fame. That one moment in history. That was it. So, yeah.
I love that. And usually all good stories start with we bought a boat, and so yeah. And I know, kind of the topic and the theme and what we're going to dive into, that you're going to pour back into the Honey Badger Nation today is really what is that number one strategy for agents today, right? Like now, moving forward, that they need to be, really aware of and focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I like to do is I work with agents all over the country. We've got agents in, half the states. Is we really start with education. We want to learn about the marketplace, and we gather information. So it's education plus information plus action equals results. So for example, I know in West Hollywood, it's 82% renters. That means 82% of the housing stock is owned by investors, and they're renting them out. Versus, Columbus, Ohio, where maybe it's 33% renters and 67% owner occupant. So what I suggest to agents who really aren't sure what they want to do, do they want to work with investors, they just want to stick with owner occupants, I say, look, let's look at your data. Let's let the data tell us what to do.
I love that.
So you should match, your business model should match the market. at a minimum. Now, there are people like me that just, I'm like, we work with owner occupants, absolutely, but I don't go chasing them down. I hand them out to other people. I spend my time focusing on the investor because I know for every investor, I'm going to get a minimum 4 transactions, not just one, but 4. And I also will be immersed in the game of investing. So I'll see the opportunities as they pop up. I'll learn the strategies. So for everybody out there listening, boy, I tell you right now, the way the market is, and I'm probably one of the most positive people you will ever meet, but I'm also a realist. This is my 5th market cycle. By definition, we're in a recession. I know it doesn't feel that bad right now, and hopefully it won't get that bad, but you don't know. So that the key is to not panic when you watch the news. The key is to prepare, and the way you prepare is, and I'll go over some of these things today, John, if you want, but probably 3 things critical, guys. You should definitely build a community around yourself and investors. Just start a group, start an investor group in your neighborhood. That's what I did in a library for free, public library, nonprofit, and I got business out of it, but we not there on the spot. Another thing I did was instead of having like a regular newsletter, I thought, I'm going to create a booklet just like the financial planners have because I was going to a financial planner to figure out what to do with all the money, and he gave me this booklet, and I thought, well, that's genius. The booklet's full of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. I'm just going to gut it and put in duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. And we started sending that out every month. And it was horrible. John was the ugliest. It looked like a kindergartner did it. Seriously. Crayons and glue. It was just disgusting. Horrible. So, in any case, but it worked because the content is key. Content is king. You got to have some content. The third thing we did was this, John, is we to get listings instead of doing the broadcast type marketing, a lot of postcards and door knocking and stuff like that. I mean, we did those things on the owner occupant side, but on the investor side, it's easy to determine the investors because you go to your county records and you can see the owner's address is different than the property address. So we would literally buy the data from the county, $50 every year. We get the data, and we look for all the postal service calls it absentee owner. We look for the absentee owners, and we knew their addresses because they're not going to lie on their tax record. It's the property tax record is going to have their actual mailing address. So we knew who they were, we knew where they lived, and we would send them letters. And I have this one letter we've been using, has to be 15 years. We've not changed it in probably 12 years. We changed it a lot in the first 3 years. But that letter is just like a real simple person-to-person letter, very personal, 6 sentences. And that thing that I've never seen another letter outperform that letter. It doesn't always work, but it works more often than others. So those 3 things, and we can expand upon those 3 things. Build a community around yourself so you have relationships you're building person to person. Have a regular recurring monthly publication. I called it the profit booster. I didn't call it newsletter. And then constantly reach out to the owners of those properties, regularly, consistently. One of the keys, John, is I got to tell you, it's consistency. When I first started this business, I tried some campaign. It didn't work the first time, and I give up. And finally, I got a broker who said, "Look, you got to calm down, and you got to focus on no more than 3 things. And when you do those 3 things, you got to keep doing them until you figure out how to make them work because they're never going to work the first time out of the gate, unless it's some canned routine that everybody's been using. But the consistency, that was an absolute game changer for me. Just keep doing it." Keep doing it. So,
No, I
yeah.
love that. Let's expand upon each of these 3 points. And I guess my first question, when you're looking at a community of investors,
Mhm.
is there a particular type of investor you're looking for? Like, is there a
Sure.
criteria? Is there who's that ideal? Who's the avatar for the investors?
Yeah, that's an excellent question because that's probably one of the most important things is early on, I would go to other investor groups like RIA, Real Estate Investors of America, and I do advocate that all the listeners just join a local investor group if you don't want to start your own. But what I learned from doing that, John, is there's a lot of wannabe investors, a lot of tire
Mm.
kickers and wishful thinkers and people with no money. And they were always trying to use all the no money down stuff. And it finally occurred to me after driving them around forever and making ridiculous offers that, I've got to find people that actually have money. So I thankfully I got this dentist to work with me, and a chiropractor too. About the same time, a chiropractor and a dentist. The dentist was far better at investing. Here's what I found out. the people that own businesses generally make better investors. They understand profit and loss and income expense. They know how to read financial statements. They can tell a good business opportunity. And that's what a piece of real estate is. It's like a business in a box. It's got 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and you can rent it out or flip it or whatever. So, but I'll give you everybody write this down. Here's some of the top groups of people that made the best investors for me. Dentists were definitely up there. Chiropractors was a great group. Engineers, awesome. I mean, and it was crazy because you think engineers are constantly suffering from paralysis by analysis, but once they take action and they figure it out, guys, you can't stop them. They're absolutely relentless. They'll keep going and going and going. So engineers are great. First responders were really a nice surprise. That's your firemen, policemen, EMTs. Really, for us, it was mainly the policemen that were the big investors, followed by the firemen. And then let's see another group. Oh, pilots, airline pilots. They're awesome. Those guys are cowboys. They're gunslingers. They're not afraid to take action. Thank goodness for us people to fly. They need to be able to act quickly and be decisive. And so that trait, I think, enables them to be good investors. Teachers was another surprise because they tend to take forever, and but I tell you what, once they get going, they really like flipping. By the way, so dentists, chiropractors, teachers, first responders, firemen, policemen, that group, pilots, engineers. Oh, one more, military, great investors, active duty, reserves, retired. They have what's called VA eligibility. And anybody that has VA eligibility, it's lifetime, by the way, too. If they serve 4 years, they can have VA eligibility for the rest of their lives. And it's based on dollars, not properties, based on dollars. So they could be eligible for $200,000, and maybe for $200,000 they can buy a duplex. And then when they get transferred, this is what I've discovered with them. They would refinance the property at the base where they were stationed with a conventional mortgage that frees up the VA eligibility, enabling them to buy another property at the next duty station.
Yep.
And that's what they would do. So those guys make great investors. Those are the top 7 groups. So really what we're looking for is people that are generally professional, generally business owners, and generally have some money. And like in the case of the military, unless they're complete goofballs, they've got VA eligibility.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's great. What of those, professions, like character traits, like certain things that you're kind of trying to uncover from them? I like small business, and if they understand that, especially if they've been in business, they've survived all the statistics and they've been in business long enough, they understand, right, how to work through that. But when you're kind of vetting them out, right, you're kind of vetting out their profession, but what are you trying to vet out in them?
Yep. Really what I'm looking for is, the old saying is, timing, motivation, readiness, willingness, ability, those 5 things. Well, that shows up in different forms. So like for the engineers and the military, or for most of those people, in fact, what I like is they were pretty much disciplined. I mean, they set a goal and they had a plan and they were going to work the plan. But when it came to the actual real estate, readiness, willingness, ability, time and motivation, what I would do is I would, when I interviewed them, I didn't call it an interview to their face because, to them it's a conversation. But once I built rapport, and this is really important, guys, once I built rapport, I jump right into it. I say, in order to work together in this business, the other side is going to want to make sure I've already screened you to make sure you're qualified to be able to invest. Are you okay with that? It's just part of business. Business owners are okay with that because they're used to going getting business loans and they're used to being vetted. So what I would ask them was, I didn't say how much money do you have. I would ask them, what do you have in savings? What do you have available in savings? And that was a less intrusive way to get the information. And then I would ask them if they have an available line of credit. And what that means is, instead of like a home equity loan that's fixed rate, fixed term, and they pull out 100,000 and do whatever, a line of credit is like a checking account you draw on. So if they had a line of credit with availability on it, like let's say they had 100,000 line and they had 80,000 available, that shows me that they're disciplined with their money, because anybody can go out there and start stroking checks for like what we did with, boats and cars and stuff, So, so it showed that they had discipline, they were good with their money, and also was available, which means they could stroke a check quickly to put down a nice sizable hand money check on a property and beat out all the competition. So it's and savings, what do they have? Did they have an available line of credit? And I would ask the question yes or no, and then they would tell me, yes, they got a line of credit, it's got 80,000 on it. So I would get the information I needed sort of in a subtle way. The third thing, John, was I wanted to see if they knew what their credit score was, because I knew that people who were good with money generally kept track of their credit, and
Yep.
they knew what their credit score was. So instead of saying, what is your credit score? I would say, do you know what your credit score is? They'd say, yeah, it's 730, 680, 820, whatever it was. Um, as long as I had two of the three of those on the affirmative side, in other words, they were in good shape, cash and credit and all that. Two of the three things, I would work with them starting right away. But if they didn't, I would put them on a nurturing campaign and help them, build up some cash flow, improve their credit score, get a line of credit, whatever the case is, so that we went out there hunting, we could strike quickly and decisively and beat out the competition. Because there's nothing worse than going out there in the field. And I'm sure every agent is going to have this eventually. Somebody's going to say, well, I want to do one of those no money down deals, or I want to do owner financing. Well, you know what the odds of that are. And it's not many owners are willing to do those things. I don't want to scare people. They are out there. We've done them, bunches of them over the years. But I'm telling you, you're going to have a far easier time working with people with cash, credit, and a line of credit that's available. you know?
Yeah. No, I love that. I appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
we're building that community. We're building those people
Mhm.
around us, and I think too, for us, we would always want to have, those that were looking to buy and hold, and those looking to buy and flip, right? Because I
Mhm.
mean, their criteria is a little bit different, but just trying to stock, have that community of those investors. Now you move into the profit booster, which is really what they want, right? They
Yeah.
want opportunities, they want things in front of them. And so as
Yeah.
you've kind of evolved with that, how has, being able to, I guess, maybe poll, listen, what do the investors want? Where are the real
Yeah.
opportunities? Do you take it kind of what they're wanting, but also
Yeah.
what is best kind of available in the market as it is today for them and putting it in
Yeah.
front of them?
Yeah. In the beginning, the profit booster was really, really just very, very rudimentary, just real basic stuff. And I ended up making it way too big. I would put all this stuff in there, articles and stories and all kinds of stuff. Over the years, what we did is we narrowed it down to the cover page is important. The cover page conveys an image of success. It's like a skyline of a city with a beautiful background, mountains in the background, and the cityscape in the front, like Denver, for example. And then we would start at the top with this statement. We would say where their smart money is, dot, dot, dot. And it creates what's called an open loop in the reader's mind. So in their mind, they're thinking, well, where is it? Where is the smart money? Then you get the picture, and below the picture would say, right here in Denver, Colorado, right here in Atlanta, Georgia, wherever the place is. And then contact information. And they open it up and they see an introductory letter. Now it used to be the whole page, and I realized over time it's too much, too many words, trying to say too many things, and more importantly, I was focused more on me trying to sell myself as opposed to me speaking to them and what's important to them.
Mm,
So we've narrowed it down to maybe a paragraph or two now, and we don't really mention much at all about ourselves. What we talk about is, why they um, are going to be interested in what's in this booklet. We give them examples of properties, examples of flips. We give them examples of rentals. And we would also mention a group of people that we work with. So if we're sending this booklet to local, you know, um, oral surgeons, for example, because they're closely related to the dentist, we would mention the local dental group that we work with. So this is going to sound a little bit kooky, but I actually would join the local dental group, the dental association, even the local chiropractic association, as a vendor, go to all the dinners and start to show up with those booklets. Then I was able to use that organization, and oftentimes I could use some of their names. Hey, I've I'm working with Doctor So and So. Now we were very precise in our targeting. We knew that those guys all knew each other. All the dentists knew each other. So within a 5-mile radius, you might have 25 family practitioners and maybe 5 oral surgeons, that kind of thing. So we all knew they knew each other because they referred each other back and forth. And we would get permission to say, "Hey, is it okay if I mention your name in this booklet? I'm going to use it for other dentists just like you." And they would say, "Sure, that's fine." And then when we would hand the booklet out, we would use that same phrase, "I'm already working with other dentists just like you. In fact, here's a flip that Dr. So and so did last month." Man, you talk about an increase in response rates. That was that familiarity, that
Yeah.
community. They knew each other. Like,
Affinity. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, with the trust, and then with then also, probably some competitiveness in there too, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not letting him be one up on me.
Oh yeah. So we would get samples of properties. I would give one article. Sometimes I'd write the article myself because I was RIA and Acres American Congress for Real Estate would ask me to write articles for them. Inman's had me write articles. So I would include those things, or I would include something that was current, recent news. And lately, it's very easy to find our current news right now, guys, is our best friend.
Mm.
There's all kinds of news about the economy, inflation, recession, the housing market. Man, who's not interested in that? So we put that in there. And then the other thing we would do, John, we would give them one of our tools, like a calculator, not a physical handheld calculator, but a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, for example,
Sure.
or an analysis form on flipping. We will put those in there and say, "Hey, use this on your next flip, use this on your next rental." And then we provide some testimonials, and we change those out every month. And at the last inside back page was a call to action, usually 2 calls to action, because some people are looking to buy, some people are looking to sell. So we would say, for a free search of investment properties in the area, click here, or for a free property evaluation, no obligation, click here. So we would give them something to do, as well as provide our contact information. Um, and that's essentially is the booklet the way it stands today. And the other thing we did, guys, I know I'm kind of getting long-winded here, but we
That's
would
great.
customize the booklet for the different groups. And the reason we did that is we recognized engineers have certain terminology that they're used to, right? Dentists have certain terminology that they're used to. So we would embed that terminology in the booklet. So if you think about the old Dan Kennedy marketing triangle, you got three corners, of course, triangle. Market is one corner, message is another corner, and media is the third corner. And you're looking for alignment between market, message, and media. So we would make the message match the market. When we're writing to engineers, we would use a lot of terminology like talk about spreadsheets and calculations and analysis and all these terms that engineers use. And then the media was important too. You want to think about it. Millennials are into Instagram. The baby boomers are into Facebook. Gen Z's into TikTok. I mean, you have to use the media that particular, you know, audience you're going after is using. So market, message, and media all have to match and be in alignment. And we would do that with the booklet. We have dentists. We have booklets for specific areas. Booklets for just flipping. Booklets for just rentals. Booklets for just electrical engineers. Um, and the more we got focused on the person, on the receiver, the higher the response rates.
Yeah, I love that. And it's that, where are they hanging out?
Mhm.
Where is your person? What like you said, what's the going on in their head, and how do you speak their language? It's you got to line them all up. That's fantastic.
Yep.
With that, the profit booster, I mean, you're providing that content, but is it, I mean, it seems like it's also kind of a lead magnet as well, right? To be able
Yeah.
to create your opportunities for new
Yeah.
clients, for new investors.
Yeah. One of the things I learned to do, guys, is in the early years, it was all mail it. We would mail it out, and it was, $2 a mailing, plus the material. So now it's so much easier just to use it electronically. You can create it in Word, save it on Google Drive to get a link, and then you send the link to people in all sorts of media, LinkedIn, Facebook, text messages, emails. Um, so I'll give you a quick campaign. Everybody here can do this, by the way. Everybody should have a database. I'm assuming you've got a database. In our case, we use KV Core, and you want to segment your database. We call it tagging. So I know who my flippers are. I know who my landlords are. I know who the agents are. I know everything about them, and we have multiple tags. So what I would recommend for people who are just starting this kind of a campaign is create a booklet and send it to your entire database. I know we don't normally like to do broadcast marketing, but in this case, you want to do it. And what you want to do in there is let's say you do an email. In the email, the body of the email, you say, dear so and so. And by the way, your CRM should be able to do sort merging, which means you can send out a mass email, but each one is individualized with that recipient's name, all automated. You're not doing this stuff manually; it's all automated. So if your CRM doesn't do that, you need to call John or I so we can help you get the right CRM. But so you put this in the body of the email. You say, dear John, dear Gary, um, long time no see. I hope you're well. Whatever your introductory statement is, say I'm training to be a certified investor agent. If you don't want to say that, you don't have to say that. Just say I'm learning to work with investors. Be authentic, genuine, truthful, and humble. And say I've created this booklet for other investors, people just like you. Would you mind providing your feedback on this booklet? I value your opinion. Okay. So that's using all kinds of marketing stuff like permission-based marketing. You're basically, you're asking for their help. You're asking for their assistance, and the people that like you probably going to want to help you.
Yep.
And then you give them the link. Say, click on this link to view this booklet. It gives samples of properties and things like that. And then before I leave the email, I would say, quick question or just curious. Have you ever thought about flipping a home or buying a small rental? Most people have. I mean, with all the television shows, everybody at some point is thinking, gee, I should flip a house too. So leave off with that. Always leave them with a question so they have a reason to get back to you to respond to your email. And that one thing right there will help you figure out in your database who your investors actually already are, who want it, and the people who want to be investors. And also, more importantly, they might say, I'd love to flip a home, but I don't think I could ever own a rental. So, the next time around, create a booklet just on flips and send it to the people who are only interested in flipping. And send them another one created for the landlords and send it only to the people interested in only in having rentals. So you can really get targeted on that. And you can't give up on it, guys. Marketing is a momentum business. You have to keep it going. So, and I'll give you a story here. I've created probably more than 20 or 24 campaigns myself that we have copyright protected. And this booklet is one of them. And it's the only campaign I'm ever aware of, whether I created it or I've learned it from other people. I know in 2 instances had 100% conversion rate. And it was one of the guys was a part-time fireman in San Diego. He's one of my students. He's a realtor, of course, and a part-time fireman. And he started using a booklet with the local fire departments. And he had one event he did. The battalion chief let him do an event. 25 booklets turned into 25 sales. Okay.
Wow.
The next one was a guy in Santa Fe. He drove down from Santa Fe to Albuquerque to see me teach for the second time. And he said, hey, Gary, I don't know if you remember me. I sat in your class 3 years ago, been doing the booklet ever since. He said, I actually had one batch of them return 100% conversion rate. That's only marketing campaign, John, I've ever heard of that ever did that. And it doesn't happen all the time. I mean, how many thousands of students I've taught to use booklets? I'm only aware of 2 that got batted 1,000. But still, I mean, generally you're converting, you're getting 3 deals out of every batch.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting from our students. But 100%, that's amazing,
Yeah.
So,
Gary, talk a little bit about, because it takes time to really, like you said, be authentic, right? Hey, I'm learning this, or, I haven't have enough time to
Mhm.
really, get to that expert, I'm in
Yeah,
that apprenticeship status. So as you're kind of going through, who are some of the key players like team that you need to have, right? Because,
mhm,
there's strategies around it, strategies to buy, strategies to exit, strategies to sell. If you're going to flip, where, maybe they're an investor that, they have the wherewithal, they have the capabilities, yet they don't have the resources, the contractors, the connections. And so as you're kind of building out that team, who are some of the players that you need to make sure that you align with you, because you want to be you want to
yeah,
be the go-to, right? You want to be the source,
yep,
and you want to be the guy that has all the connections for them, and no matter what it needs to be. So could you kind of maybe just kind of line out the players, the team that you need to start developing relationships and assembling to help these investors
yeah,
achieve their goals?
yeah, that's an excellent question too, I will tell you early on, I kinda stumbled across the need to do this, and I stumbled across it by first joining a local group. It was called ACRE, American Congress of Real Estate. Later on, it's now RIA is the big one, Real Estate Investors of America. But joining a local community like that, so if you don't wanna create your own right away, and I make recommend that maybe you do join another one to get your feet wet, but more importantly, like what John's leading to is to build the relationships with other people that are going to be critical team members for you. And some of those people are going to be in every real estate transaction, of course, you have a lender, you have a closing company or title company, depending on where you are in the country. Um, you definitely want to have an attorney that you can rely on. And I don't mean somebody you call up every now and then and they send you a bill for 250 bucks. I mean somebody you actually build a relationship with, invaluable. And if you don't, if you want to take the shortcut, you can join legal is it Legal Shield? Is that what it is?
Mhm. Yep.
Yes, I've been a member of them for years,
Yeah, it's
and
a
I
great
love it 'cause
resource.
what's that?
I said they're a great resource.
Oh, absolutely, and it for 20 bucks a month, whatever it is, you get to call them up whenever you want,
Yeah.
get advice, get letters written for free, things like that. So lender, attorney, title company, absolutely. Title companies are critical. I mean, it's just like any business. You got some good ones and some bad ones. Um, but also more on the property side, I would absolutely get to know the inspectors. Not, I don't mean just the property inspectors that people use to do a property inspection, but I mean like the municipal inspectors, the housing inspectors from the county and the city. Um, you don't have to make a giant effort to do this. It'll come naturally through your transactions. You'll meet these guys automatically. Okay. The appraisers, you definitely want to know the appraisers. Now it's not like it used to be. In the old days, we would build relationships with appraisers and we could determine who's going to do the appraisal, with some degree of control. Nowadays, we don't have any of that kind of control, but you still want to know who the appraisers are. And on the physical properties stuff, the building itself and the land itself, you definitely want to know some electricians, some plumbers, some roofers, flooring people, kitchen and bathroom people, carpenters, framers, drywall people, painters, um, brick masons, landscapers, snow removal, lawn care, all that this they're all important. And what's really cool, guys, is this. If you just go to your local investor group and start going on a regular basis, you're automatically going to meet these guys. Okay. It's a foregone conclusion. Um, so the other thing too is you'll meet the other investors and you can hang on, I'm gonna sneeze here in a second. Hey, I just took care of it. How about that? So
There you go. Bananas.
I love it when that happens. So any case, you're gonna meet the investors. Some of them you will want to work with, some of them you're gonna try to determine if they're gonna be tire kickers and time wasters. You got to really be diligent with your time. But in any case, back to the investors, ask the investors, hey, who's the go-to plumber in this area? Who's the go-to electrician? And get two or three guys on your sheet. Then what I would do is instead of me doing like a direct referral, hey, you should use, you know, um, Bob Jones. He's the best plumber on the planet. I would say, hey, I've got three plumbers here that I've heard people speak highly of. Bob Jones is the first one, and here's the other two also. I suggest you. This is me speaking to the prospect. I suggest you call them and feel them out. That way you're not on the hook for any type of reference or referral because unfortunately in life, people sometimes make mistakes, even the best do, and you don't want that reflecting on you. So I learned to change my presentation when people ask me for who can they use, and I would always give them more than one, preferably three, um, and I would make sure that they had a good reputation. Um,
Right.
so those people are critical, and there's even architects, for example. I mean, we've got a project now we're looking at where it's an old municipal building, 40,000 square feet that we're going to reconfigure, repurpose probably into some affordable housing, something like that. Well, that's a big job. I mean, you're talking could be 1 to 3 years of work. You definitely need an architect. You need an engineer. You got to go to zoning hearings. So this, by the way, one more thing. Some of the most important people you want to know happen to be the government people, the people that
Yep.
work in the city and the county.
Yep.
Get to know them, be their friend. I know they're going to be a pain in the neck sometimes, but you make sure you're always polite and friendly to them.
Yep.
And I'm not saying they'll break rules for you, but they will do you favors. And
They
also
will they will shuffle you to the top of the deck.
yep,
And that was one of the lessons, Gary, what you're saying is that, I mean, find out their pain points. How can you be of value to them? How can you help them solve problems? And then they will return favors. And the biggest favor that they'll return for you is speed.
yeah,
That's the
amen.
biggest thing. That's the
Yep,
biggest thing. Gary, there's a couple things that I want to really kind of pull out of you here.
okay,
You know, really assembling the team. I love that. The one thing that I'm kind of get your take on is like, what are the investment opportunities moving into the future? What's your
yeah,
take on, single family? What's your take on multifamily? What's your take on short-term rentals?
yeah,
Like where are the investment opportunities that, us, if we're positioning ourselves as the go-to authority expert,
right.
and we are aligning with people that can do multiple transactions with us,
Mhm.
like we need to be able to know, hey, these are the real opportunities. And the buzz, the hot short-term rentals, and then what
Yeah,
are the pros and cons? Like, how do obviously going to the real estate groups, educating yourself, gaining that information, but like where are the real opportunities moving into the future?
yeah. Uh, Excellent question again. Thanks, John. And there's actually a couple of answers. So when it comes to short-term rentals, like Airbnb, of course, now it's an industry standard that they're here to stay. Even the hotels and motels going back a few years realize they're not going anywhere because the consumer wants it. So it's here to stay. And actually know for a fact, hotels and motels routinely overbook, just part of their practice. So when they have an overflow, they used to send them to each of the other hotels, even if they're competitors. You know what they're doing now? They have a list of Airbnb providers that they're
Wow,
offloading these overflow to. Isn't that amazing?
it is.
So so Airbnb, here's one of the key things to remember. It's all about velocity and occupancy when it comes to rentals. So short-term rentals, that is. Velocity is important. You can't have the places sit empty for any length of time. So the best places to own Airbnbs are areas that are known as a destination area and a business center. And a perfect example is Orlando, Florida. It's a destination area, obviously. You've got Universal, Disney, it's just funland. But it's also a business center. So you got business travelers there, and they got a major airport. You know, I'm not saying you shouldn't own an Airbnb in Hilton Head. Hilton Head Island's a great beach. It's predominantly a destination area though, and it is year round because January and Hilton Head is 60 degrees and you can play golf. But year-round areas are definitely better for the destination areas. Now, having said that, I'm going to kind of contradict myself here for a second. Um, I know from doing my research because I used to live in Western Pennsylvania that Pittsburgh people never think of Pittsburgh as a destination area or any kind of an area where people are going to go to. Well,
Sure.
guess what? It's a great Airbnb area. You've got three major sports teams. You got major higher education, Carnegie Mellon, Pitt University, Duquesne. I mean, it's high and a major medical area too, and it's a sub-financial center for New York City. So you got at least three major industries that are essentially recession-proof. Okay, and you got three major sports teams. So what's really cool here is I was literally looking at a 5-unit building up on top of what's called Mount Washington. It overlooks the city. It's the number 2 city view in the entire country. And one of my agents on my team, Jimmy Latunu, we had a one-on-one call, and she says, "Hey, Gary, my husband and I just went up there for a Steelers game. They're in Dallas or no Houston. They're in Houston, but her husband's a huge Steelers fan." And I said, "Really, where'd you stay?" She said, "Oh, it's just this really old place, but it's really done up nice. You'd love it. It's got sports paraphernalia in it. It's a classic stone building. Meets the uh, uh, what's the designation for historical properties." And I said, "Wait a minute, was it on a corner, whatever it was?" And she said, "I said, I'm looking at buying that property, you know." But any case, so never assume anything in this business. I would definitely do the research. And what's really cool about Airbnb, there's 2 tools you can use. One is called Air DNA, like the DNA in your body. So AIR DNA. It's a great research tool to see if Airbnb would work in whatever neighborhood you're looking at. Another one's called Mash Visor. Mash like mashed potatoes, and visor like the visor in your car. Mash Visor. I think one or both of those will give you like a free 30-day trial, but it collects all the data and on the Airbnbs in the area and publishes it, so you know if you're going in the right. Remember, all it is averages and statistics. One of the other keys to Airbnb success is that you're providing a really nice product and you're keeping up with everything. If you let stuff go, your reviews are going to reflect that, and so will your rates, by the way, too. So think of it as like you're putting out a 5-star product. I mean, get goofy, get crazy with it. Put in sports paraphernalia if you're in a sports town. If you're in a beach town, put in beach paraphernalia. If you're in Orlando, put in paraphernalia reflecting Disney World and Universal. Um, but there's something else I want to mention, John. It's on the corporate housing front. This is now, and this is going to probably, I'm going to get people are going to shoot me for saying this because it's just now becoming obvious to everybody. Corporate housing is a big deal right now. Huge shortage. Corporate housing. It's not the week long rental for vacationers. It's people coming into town on a contract. They got a 9-month contract to do some software development, for example. They don't want to stay in hotels because it's too expensive, and they don't
Right.
want to be in a hotel. They want to be in a home. So what we're doing is we've created a hub. The first hub is sorry, the hub with 5 portals. The first portal is for traveling nurses. During the pandemic, it became a huge business. It already was a big business. So we have a portal that is designed to appeal to only nurses, and we contact all the hospitals and their recruiting agencies who recruit nurses to be traveling nurses, and we rent these rooms out. We might have rented a 4-bedroom home for 2,000 a month, for example, to a family, but now we can rent out each individual bedroom for $1,000 a month to traveling nurses. That's
Is that what
four.
Pad Split is that what Pad Split is doing?
Pat Split has a unique unique angle. I actually met with them last year when I came down to meet you guys for dinner in Atlanta. My team
Yep.
members are there. So one of the things I went there for is to meet Pat Split, the owner, and some of their key people. But what they're doing is they're appealing to lower income people, not um, how do I want to say this? Demographics are great on these folks. They just are just starting off in life. Maybe they're going through grad school and they're waiting tables at night.
Yeah, they have a great vetting process. But yeah,
They, they
it's
do.
yeah. Mhm.
So that's and they're using every square inch of those houses. They're turning dining rooms into bedrooms, and they're really it's more of a high volume. Um, it's affordable, high volume type arrangement. So I looked at. I was going to actually buy them. That was one of my.
It's like a boarding house.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Now check this out. It's even gone even further. Turns out in the airline industry, brand new stewards and stewardesses, they're making maybe 25 grand a year. They can't afford housing anymore. It's ridiculous. The rents have gone up so much. So there are pilots who are buying houses near the hubs, like Atlanta is Delta, Dallas is American Airlines, right? The pilots are buying houses and putting bunk beds in there. Remember did you ever travel in Europe as a kid? Go to
No.
the
Uh-uh.
house and look. Oh yeah, you go in a room. There's like 4 sets of bunk beds, man.
Right.
It's insane. So they're doing something like that. So they'll have like two twin beds in a room or 2 sets of bunk beds in a room, rent them out, rent a bed for $300 a month to these stewards and stewardesses. and it's a nice home in a nice neighborhood, and they have to share bathrooms and everybody gets a locker, stuff like that. So that's the newest thing I've heard. But what we're focusing on is 5 sectors:
Traveling
medical,
nurses.
what's that?
Traveling nurses.
Child nurses, which is medical. Then we've got high tech, like software engineers, hardware people that go and do in the high tech industry. Sports and entertainment is huge. Remember, every time a film crew comes to your town to film a movie, they need a place to stay for 3 or 6 or 9 months, and they don't want to be in
Mhm.
hotels either, right?
Nope.
Then there's the oil and gas, which is your mineral, fracking, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got basically management and exec. Those are traveling executives, traveling managers. Those are the 5 main sectors. So we have this hub we're developing, and the portal for the nurses is already there. It's called Med Traveler, and it's up and running. It's in Tidewater, Virginia, and the first 6 bedroom house is already on the site. So in any case, that's what we're focusing on because I see that as a long term. It's going to be here for a generation. Also, Airbnb, the short term, week long, and less, will be here forever. That's never going away. Um, I'm not quite sure about the dorm type thing, like the youth hostel type thing. I'm not completely sold on it. It does work. I mean, those guys are making a killing and they're expanding too. Um, but the reason I say that is this: generally speaking, in real estate, the greatest need right now is affordable housing. In the last recession, it was rentals. So many people were losing their houses and they all became renters. There was a huge shortage of rentals. So we made money on rentals. Right now, this is my opinion. Um, what I believe is going to happen is, as this recession develops, the really good builders will shift some of their effort to building affordable housing. Every builder wants to build luxury homes. That's what they want to do. But when the economy shifts, the luxury home market kind of goes quiet, right? So what I saw the last time was the really smart builders shifted quickly into building rentals, and they kept them in stock. They have income coming in. They kept their crews busy. What I think is going to happen this time is they're going to figure out a way to provide affordable housing in a way that allows them to make a profit and keeps their crews busy and stay in the business. That's what I think. I don't know what it's all going to look like. I can't tell you if it's going to be home ownership or rentership or some combination. But I know that the need is there, and I know you know this, but whenever the need becomes great enough, it's what's the old saying? This necessity is the mother of invention. So there's a great need. Some smart entrepreneur is going to figure this out,
Yep.
how to tie the builders in there to build affordable housing, still make a profit, and solve that need.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at long term for my business is
I
making
love
that.
that. I think this is a perfect little segue as we wrap up.
Yeah,
We talked a lot about, how you can align and provide value and help investors solve their problems. So, and
mhm.
obviously it's going to transactional, obviously multiple transactions to help you in your business. Talk as we wrap up here, how the agent can now have a strategy to position themselves to become the investor.
Yeah.
Like you said, hey, I'm just learning this investment thing. I'm kind of, trying, just being authentic, genuine, but talk through the strategy and the progression that as an agent that's not an investor yet, how they should use this to their advantage to
Yeah.
also become an investor themselves.
Yep, absolutely. So I run a team, and one of the mission of the team is for the agents to not just create more transaction income, more commission income, but to be investors themselves. And it's like, I mean, I live and breathe this. I think about it from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, because it's a passion for me. I get in the business and I'm watching these agents in their 70s and 80s still hustling. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, there's something wrong here,
Yeah.
And what was wrong was most of them weren't investing. They didn't have any plan. They had no retirement plan. They had no 401k. It was crazy. So my philosophy is, my mission is for life and my business is to help you, the agent, not just help other people profit in real estate, but you profit yourself. You be an owner of some properties. So the first thing you should do, if you're an agent that's been in the business, say 3 years, and you know that there's more out there, you're just not sure what to do, man, come on you pay attention to this show, be part of it, daily, weekly, and whatever you can do. I'm happy to share. I mean, I don't know John, I've got that class I teach every Monday night. That's open
Yep.
to the public, and
Yep.
we focus on
Give them
this
that
subject.
information for sure.
Yep. But everybody listening, I want you to get the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and then get the book Cash Flow Quadrant. Should read those first two books and read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I mean, I could give you 3,000 books to read. I would read those first three, right? And then pick up a book on buying duplexes for dummies, for example, flipping houses for dummies. I mean, you can go to my website and get stuff for free if you want. We put it out there for that purpose, so agents can say, I should look at this first before I'd go jump in with both feet. Absolutely, look at it first. Read something, study, so you make sure it's something you want to do. But the point is you got to start somewhere, and I would start by reading a couple of books, and I would start by joining a local investors club, because you will learn the terminology and the methodology just by hanging around those people.
Yeah.
It'll start to make more sense. Come visit John and me. Come to the class. Come to the honey badger sessions. I mean, it's just this community is paramount to your success. I'm telling you that because I'm a member of the community first and foremost. But I didn't know this 3 years ago. I didn't know these guys existed. I knew about Jay Kinder, but I didn't know about anybody else. Now it's like, what I do is a niche thing. I get it. It's a niche within a niche, but the fundamentals are always the same. And
Yeah.
some of those fundamentals are, you have got to set a goal. I'm going to buy a duplex by the end of the year, for example, right? Make a plan and then start executing. And that first step should be join your local investor group, right? And read those first three books. And if you want to come to my class, it's Monday Night Live. John, I don't have any information to give him here on the show, but
how do they get there?
Yeah, go to globalinvestoragent.com. That's the site we created for investor agents around the country. And it's not everybody in our brokerage company. It's people from all different brokerage companies. My team is obviously EXP agents. But everybody in the class, they're from Caldwell Banker, Remax,
Sure.
Berkshire Hathaway. So if you go into the globalinvestoragent.com, just click on Learn More, and I think you can leave your email address, and we'll send you the link for class. It's a Zoom link. That's all it is, and you get registered for all the classes. Just start there, guys. It's free.
Yeah.
You meet other people from around the country, network. I mean, that's another critical thing, is hanging around other people doing what you want to do.
Yep. Absolutely. Gary, man, I can't thank you enough. Just an absolute jam-packed, just pouring into this community. And you guys get to globalinvestoragent.com, get the information. And, it was always our belief as well, right? That it was just one of the niche. We knew we always had to have investors, learning how we can become a better investor, building that team around us. And, it's to me, it's got to be one of the pillars of your business. And so, there's nobody better than connecting here with Gary. So Gary, appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, guys. Have an awesome day.
We'll see you guys soon. See ya. Thanks.